I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the January 23rd Board of Education meeting. Have a moment of silence. Flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, a public notice of this meeting has been sent to board members of all district schools, the Herald News, Suburban Trends, The Record, Messenger, West Milford Town Hall, the County Superintendent's Office, the Board Attorney, Cablevision of Warwick and West Milford, TV 77, and posted in the Administration Building. Copies of the board meeting calendar resolution were provided to all local media, Town Hall, Township Library, and all district schools. Roll call, please, Mr. Schultz.
Mr. Seidowitz? Mrs. Jurgensen?
Here.
Mrs. Rakana?
Here.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Here.
Mrs. Lockwood?
Here.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Here.
Mrs. Marquardt?
Here.
Mr. Lippy?
Here.
Mrs. Romeo?
Here. Thank you. Dr. Fenari, your superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. There are just a couple of items on the superintendent's report this evening. One of them is that I wanted to formally announce that our kindergarten registration is open, and we already have approximately 118 completed registrations, which is a good number for this time of the year. There had been some question by our Superintendent's Roundtable group as to where that information is posted. So for the edification of the public, I wanted to let everyone know that we have a banner that is right at the top of our website with a link to kindergarten registration information, including the form. We also have it posted at the bottom of the front page of the website under announcements. It is posted on the digital signs outside of our schools. It is in the trends and will appear in the messenger. So we've got the information out there, and based on the number of registrations we have so far, we're pretty confident that that is widely publicized. So we're looking forward to all of that.
Excuse me. Yes. Dr. Canary, if a parent is having trouble with the links, or maybe they're not technology savvy, did they come into the board office and register in person?
There, we can certainly give people paper copies or give them support.
Thank you.
And then we also, Mr. Novak, correct me if I'm wrong, but we also have paper copies at places. We were going to send it to the Highlands Family Success Center. Okay, the other item on the superintendent's report is also found under new business, but I'd like to take this opportunity to read the following into the record. This is School Board Recognition Month for January of 2024, and the motion reads as follows. Whereas the New Jersey School Boards Association has declared January 2024 to be School Board Recognition Month, a time when all residents can acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members. And whereas the West Milford Board of Education is one of more than 581 local school boards in New Jersey, which sets policies and oversees operations for public school districts. And whereas the West Milford Board of Education embraces the goal of high-quality education for all New Jersey public school students, and whereas the New Jersey's local school boards help determine the educational goals for approximately 1.4 million children in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and whereas New Jersey's 5,000 local school board members who receive no remuneration for their services act as advocates for public school students as they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education. And whereas school boards strive to provide the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students, including those with special needs. And whereas boards of education provide accountability to the public, they communicate the needs of the school district to the public, and they convey to school administrators the public's expectations for schools. And whereas New Jersey can take pride in its schools, which rank among the nation's best in key achievement indicators such as the National Assessment for Educational Progress scores, preparation for college through advanced placement offerings and SAT assessments, now therefore be it resolved that the West Milford Board of Education does hereby recognize the services of the local school board members throughout New Jersey as we join communities statewide in observing January 2024 as School Board Recognition Month. And be it further resolved that the West Milford Board of Education urges all New Jersey citizens to work with their local boards of education and public school staff toward the advancement of our children's education. And that concludes my report. I just want to thank you all, those of you sitting around this table. I know the kind of care and detail-oriented work that you are engaged in, and I'm happy to be here with you doing all of that, but the recognition of the time and energy that you spend on our Board of Education is definitely appreciated by all of us here.
Thank you. Okay, so for my report, I guess I'll start with informing the board that we got a letter from a staff member, an email. It's a good one. And it's a thank you. So I'm going to just read it out, seeing as it leads off from what Dr. Funari just read. So I was just reviewing the board agenda and saw the notation about January's recognition of boards of education. In particular, this line struck me. Whereas New Jersey's 5,000 local school board members who receive no remuneration for their services act as advocates for public school students as they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education. It is absolutely true that you all take these challenging roles where you must bridge the interests of so many without any remuneration. I think the collective we should hit a hard pause to consider that fact, that all of you are volunteers putting kids first, putting their education and their futures first. So in humblest terms, thank you. So I just wanted to share that with my fellow trustees as that came through this weekend, and I of course responded on behalf of us all, thanking them for such a thoughtful email. So wanted to share that. The other update for my president's report is actually in reference to the superintendent's committee. So just wanted to give an update out to the community that we met on Saturday with our, sorry, my throat's kind of bothering me a little bit tonight, so I might take a breath here and there. So we met on Saturday with our consultant, Ms. Hellowa. We went through all the applications. There were 29 in total. We were able to narrow that down to a very good pool of 9 candidates who will be coming back for first round interviews next week. So we're very excited to start this process. We're very, hopeful that we'll be able to find the next candidate within that pool, and we're looking forward to it. We're also going to meet tonight, so I just want to make everyone aware that we will be reconvening into a second exec session today, just the Superintendent's Committee to discuss the interviews next week. So just to be transparent and let everybody know that. And that concludes my president's report. So now on to, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I just missed you completely, Mr. Schultz. I'm sorry, I just skipped you because I was so excited about that letter that we got.
Mrs. Lockwood, can I ask you a question about your report real quick?
Yes.
So I heard you say there's 9 candidates for superintendent interviews. What comes after that? Like, does the community ever have another say after that survey, or what are the next steps after those interviews, do you know?
So we have first round of interviews next week. We'll have second round the following week. So which candidates we want to push through to the second round. And then we'll have a final round of interviews. I believe it's the following week after that. And then hopefully the committee will have someone that they can bring forth to the board. candidate that they'll vet to the board. So as far as I know that the community has you know, already given their input with the surveys that went out. So I'm pretty sure, but I could check with Ms. Hellaway that that's really all the input that is given at that point. And I think it's more because if it's a confidentiality issue that we can't really say too much about who the candidates are or, you know, that.
Okay, thank you.
It's my understanding, but I can double check and make sure with Ms. Hellaway that that's the process. But I believe the process of having the community involved is already passed.
Okay.
So again, sorry, Mr. Schultz, I skipped right over you.
Nope, you're on a roll.
Special reports and correspondence.
So for next week's meeting, I anticipate having the December 19th workshop and regular meeting minutes, the executive session minutes, and the January 2nd, 2024 reorganization minutes.
Thank you. So now public comments. So all speakers will have 5 minutes to speak until a period of 30 minutes transpires. Before speaking, please state your name, group affiliation, and address for the record. Members of the public who have requested to speak prior to the meeting will be recognized by their chair first. After speaking, all speakers are asked to sign the register provided and give their full name, group affiliation, and their address. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. All speakers are expected to have read the statement within the agenda regarding the regulations concerning public comments. Members of the public are reminded that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. Mr. Schultz, has anyone signed up?
We don't have anyone who signed up for the first comment, but someone for second public comment for a non-agenda item.
Would my fellow board members have an issue with me seeing if that person would like to speak in the first? No problem. I believe that person is Ms. Batson. Right. Would you like to speak in this first public comment?
Can I ask a question? I have packets in my lap. Do you have enough to speak?
Yeah.
Your mic on there?
One of these mics. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Amanda Batson. I'm from Marshall Hill School, and I just wanted to share with you guys some information. On behalf of myself and the Marshall Hill PTA, I'm here tonight to present to you an issue at Marshall Hill Elementary School that has been discussed at several PTA meetings, spoken about among teachers, parents, and students. This has not been an issue limited to this school year, but the last few school years. Our students do not have regular access to the playground. As a PTA board member and concerned parent wondering why my children are not enjoying the beautiful slides and swings outside their school, I asked teachers and staff why. They expressed that the playground is constantly wet and muddy, preventing them from allowing students to access it. I have spoken with my children along with having heard from several parents whose children confirmed they do not go on the playground. Several students do not recall having been on the playground since Halloween. Instead, for months well before the snow, their recess time is confined to the blacktop. Parents and teachers agree that our children should not be subjected to playing in muddy and overly saturated conditions. I've spoken with the previous Marshall Hill building aide who provided valuable knowledge about the playground conditions from past years. I understand it is typically covered with a very thin layer of mulch. I understand that there is a work order that is submitted each year for mulch to be added to the playground. However, it is typically covered with a very thin layer of mulch, never enough to cover the entire area. And because of the playground's location is in the center of the hill, the mulch and any loose objects get washed away. At some point in the past years, large mats were purchased to put underneath the swings in hopes of reducing the contact with one of the primarily muddy areas. However, this attempt did not address the underlying problem of the stagnant water throughout the entire playground. We are confident to say that the underlying issue appears to be a lack of proper drainage. Water runs through the playground to a single storm drain at the bottom of the hill, which inconveniently is at the main entrance of the school, causing other issues you can see in the attached photos. When water is not flowing, it remains stagnant on the surface in several large areas of the playground, like under the swings or around our buddy bench area. I am here tonight requesting that the Board of Education help determine an immediate solution to get our children back on the playground this school year, while also looking into a long-term fix. Could the Board of Education work with our town engineers to determine the issue causing our playground to be overly saturated? Whether it is diverting water away from the playground, installing a drainage system, elevating the playground, or even relocating the playground. Whatever the solution is, I stand here tonight requesting your help to change the unfortunate truth that our playground is severely underutilized, depriving our children of a rich source of physical activity and social emotional development. Not using the playground can no longer be an acceptable solution for our students at Marshall Hills. Teamwork, creativity, brainstorming, communicating effectively, building new relationships, and learning to work together without guided adult instruction are all social skills cultivated on a playground. In an article written by the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia titled "The Benefits of Outdoor Play, Why It Matters," the author states, "Outdoor play is beneficial for children beyond the physical activity it provides. It helps them socialize, understand their bodies better, engage in an imaginative play, and enjoy the outdoors." Health expert Emily Shoemaker in her article states, "The playground offers a unique environment for building skills such as strength and gross motor skills. Children also learn body awareness, sensory regulations, executive functioning skills, and self-esteem." Miracle Recreation wrote a blog that states, "When students play on a playground, they can create games, solve problems, and explore the world around them. They have a chance to work things out for themselves, releasing stress, anxiety, and other negative emotions that may otherwise be built up inside. It is no surprise the incredible benefits of access to playground equipment in early childhood development, which is why all of our elementary schools have one. Unfortunately, the students at Marshall Hill are not fully experiencing these benefits, not because they do not have a playground, but because they do not have access to their playgrounds. Tonight, I urge the board to utilize the correct resources to fix the overly saturated and muddy conditions to help our students gain access to their playgrounds. Making the playground off limits can no longer be an acceptable solution for the students at Marshall Hill. So in short, our goal is for our children to gain access to a mudless playground this school year, and for the Board of Education to help put into action a long-term solution to eliminate the constant saturation and mud on the playground. I've attached several photos in this presentation that represent the location of where the playground is on a hill, as well as a photo that was taken this past end of summer that shows the lack of mulch around the playground, as well as the single storm drain at the end of the hill that shows, even under extreme weather conditions, what can happen at the entrance of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Baxter. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Moving to close public comment.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed?
Can you turn that public speaking microphone off? Yeah.
I think it might be that one.
It's now silence.
That's it. All right, Mrs. Mitchell. The ethics presentation.
I'm your new rep. I don't know, I think that I emailed everybody, so everybody should have received an email from me explaining where I came from. I was sergeant for several years for Vernon Board of Ed, and I also served as vice president for Sussex County's Board of Ed, and they offered me this position here at the school board, so I was so grateful to take it, and here I am. So in your packet, my cell phone is in there. So I'm a very early riser. I'm a 5 o'clock in the morning kind of girl. So if you have any blogs or
concerns or something that happened at a meeting and you just want to go over it, information that you need, problems with the website, whatever it is, please feel free to call me on my cell. That's 7 days a week, any type of issues. If you just want to vent, please, while you're driving to work, you can do that. That's it. Also in your packet is the acknowledgement of receipt of today's presentation and the code of ethics. If you can give that to Bill later on, that'll be helpful, especially for GSAC. I don't know what we're going to do. So I just want to start by giving a disclaimer. This presentation is for informational purposes only. It's not to give legal advice. If you have any specific questions on a certain situation or what have you, you would then go and speak to your board attorney. As individual board members, you wouldn't just call the board attorney. It would be based on policy. So if your policy reads that the president would then contact the board attorney, that would be the appropriate protocol. Sometimes it says that in policy. I don't know what your policy reads. Sometimes it says the business administrator. So please be mindful of that as well. So ethics is an accountability piece, right? So it kind of tells us like where our lanes are. And it's really important because as a board member, a lot of times, especially when you're a new board member, you're thinking that your lanes are much wider than what they really are. And the code of ethics really gives us those guidelines, so it keeps us on track and doing the work that we're meant as board members to do. So this is the actual act itself. So it's essential that the conduct of the members of the local boards of education and local administrators hold the respect and the confidence of the people. So it's really important to make sure that you're representing all parties and that the public, you have that public trust. So these board members and administrators must avoid any contact which would be a violation of their public trust or which creates a justifiable impression among the public that such trust is being violated. Now keep in mind that word justifiable impression, and we're going to talk about social media later on, and that's going to come into play with the content. So just keep that in mind. Right? That's part of the act. So this is what we're going to talk about today. This is part of the act and all that is encompassed in there. The prohibited acts, the mandatory training that you need to take as a board member, the code of ethics, and those really fun personal evaluations. So the provisions apply to all school board officials, myself included, working for the New Jersey school boards, and all board members, trustees of any charter schools, and the administrators. They all have to do that same disclosure that you have to do, and they also have to make sure that they're mindful of the prohibited acts. You as board members, a little bit bigger layer, have to enact by the code of ethics, and also that mandatory training piece. So who enforces the act? There's actually 9 members, 2 school board members, 5 non-school board officials, and then also 2 school administrators. The members are appointed by the governor for 3 years, and the maximum is 5 from one political party because we're nonpartisan. They want to make sure that it's So the jurisdiction, there's 2 different aspects to that. There's the advisory opinions, and that could be only asked for by a school official. So that's the only person that can request that type of rendering. And it would take 6 votes from the Ethics Commission for it to be made public. Ethics complaints, however, are a little bit different. So that would be anybody, any member of the public, anybody could allege that there was a violation of the School Ethics Act, and they would put in for that, and then there would be a rendering. On average, there's about 85 ethics complaints filed per year, and 35 advisory opinions requested per year. Now you'll see the advisory opinions and the actual violations of the act is on New Jersey School Board's website, and you also get a email seen that, but we constantly update, so it is, a requirement that you keep up with that. So the mandatory training, we just had our first weekend for Governance 1 this weekend. Unfortunately, the Mother Nature did not cooperate as much, so we did have a diminished amount of people coming, but we had 90 really brave souls, so that was exciting. And so when you do Governance 1, that's in your first year, you have to do it within that 90-day period. You can do Governance 1 by the weekend. It's coming up in February. It's, a great opportunity to meet with other board members all around the state. You get so much more out of it, but I understand that sometimes the time constraints, things like that. If you can't do that, we have a live virtual and an in-person that you can go along. You can do 15 minutes at a time if you need to. But you need to get it done within those 90 days. Then in your second year, you have the end of that whole entire year to do Governance 2, which is a finance and labor piece. The third year, you would do Governance 3, which is student achievement, and you would have that entire year to do that. And then anytime you were reelected or reappointed, you would then go to that Governance 4, which is the legal updates. Now, in any year, you could take all four if you're really interested in them, but you only get credit for the year that you're actually in. But you can take any of them.
I have a question. Governance 4, do you have 90 days for that too?
No, the 90-day piece is only for Governance 1, and we just started that last year because it's really essential that you get up and running, right, very quickly, because you have a lot of decisions to make very quickly. If you waited till the end of the year in your first year, it'd be really hard to do your job. So they
No, I understand that, but re-election, like
you have the whole
multiple,
year.
I've done all of them multiple times. But my question is, do I have 90 days because of re-election again, or can the Governance 4, can any time this year, I'm okay?
Anytime this year, yeah. But it's exciting.
Well, they don't have it out. They don't.
Yeah,
it's not
they're
out.
going to have it out on February 19th.
Right.
They had some type of issue with the website, but they're having it out on February 19th. The VA can set you up for that. Yeah, sorry for the delay in that. We were hoping to have that out right in January. Any other questions on that? Now, if you do go to workshop, you can take these during workshop, and you can take the next one. They will give you credit for that next year if you take that in workshop. Like say you're in your second year, you did your Governance 2, you want to take Governance 3, they will give you credit for that if you do that during workshop. So fund disclosure statements, everybody needs to do those. If you're in your first year, you need to do them within 30 days. You should receive an email. I don't know if our first year people should receive that email. You did, okay, great. And then everybody else has to have that in by April 30th. Just a little tip about those. They're a little tricky. They did something a little different last year. And you think they can have them done, and you press the button and you send them over, and you don't have them done. So if you save it as a PDF and then send it out, you're so much better off. Because I literally needed to do mine like 3 times because I thought I did it right. So just save it as a PDF and
Or your VA can help you do that.
oh, you have a full service VA. That's pretty good. So here's the penalties if you're found to have a violation. So a reprimand is basically like, don't do this again. You do get a little letter, and it's very private. Then the second is a little bit more formal. The censure, you're actually going to have it read at your public meeting, and then it stays on the website, the district website, for 30 days. Then it goes into suspension, so that could be any period of time for that type of violation, and then removal would be immediate termination of your board service. Any questions on this at all? So you do have your code in there. We can either go around the room and read these and chat about them, or you can read them at your leisure, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I do want to tell you that the standards piece, and you do have a The standards is what the commission actually, goes in and says, okay, this was put in for letter A. They go and they look at that and they say, is it part of those standards? Is there factual evidence that we have a copy of this? That type of thing. So if you'd like, if we can start with William, if you don't mind, we'll go around and we'll just chat it out.
Starting with A? Yes. Here we go. I will uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes shall be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures.
Right, so we saw a lot of this with the state standards. So when something's mandated. So those are the rules and regulations and laws, and that's what comes into play with letter A. So we'll go on to letter B.
I will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing.
Okay, so this one, a lot of times we look at, that we're looking at the whole entire district, all the children, not just a certain special interest group.
Letter C. I will confine my board action to policy making, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by it.
Right, so with this one, it's basically spelling out what those guidelines are, what our code of conduct is, where our lanes are. So policy making, we're a policy making body, planning, and appraisal. So we're doing the CSA evaluation, we're doing, we're working in conjunction with the VA with the budget. Those are our lanes. We're not running the schools.
I will carry out my responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well run.
Right, so that's the piece. So we're looking at like a blimp view of the district, and we're just seeing that they're well run. We're not in the trenches with everybody saying, hey, we're going to get in there with you and we're going to help run the schools. That would be wrong. So that's basically spelling out that we're just seeing that blimp view of the school being run well. Letter E?
E, I will recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board.
Okay, so we're seeing a really big uptick in violations with letter E, because we're seeing a lot of board members kind of going out on their own, making those promises, answering those emails to parents and saying, I'll get this taken care of for you. We act as a full body, a full team, so you can't just go ahead and act on your own. And that's what this is speaking to.
I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups or use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends.
So letter E and F are the big winners this year. We're seeing a huge uptick in the political groups. So it's great when you're in campaign mode and somebody's supporting you, and whatever group it is. It might be the theater moms, it might be a political group. But then once you're out of that campaign mode, you have to put your board hat on and say, I'm not going to have my judgment moved over sideways by that group that supported me during my campaign. So we're seeing that transition we're really struggling with that transition right now, especially with new board members. So just be mindful of that is part of the code of ethics, and you can be found in violation for that. G?
I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all other matters, I will provide accurate information and in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community boards.
Yeah, so that confidentiality piece is a lot to do with closed session. So we're seeing sometimes board members taking that information from closed session and reaching it out into the public, whether it be on social media or whether it be to their spouse. When something's closed and confidential, it's closed. It doesn't matter if you're married to that person. It doesn't matter if that's your best friend. This is very, very important because it really can affect a lot of people if that information gets out. So they really wanted to spell this out in letter sheet.
Copy of that one at some point in time.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, you told me. No, I got it. We're gonna print both of mine. I will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer.
So with this one, a lot of times people say, oh, we have an open position. Why don't you go ahead and apply for that position? And that would be wrong, right? So we have to wait for the recommendation from our CSA. And then say, okay, this is the recommendation. You hire the superintendent. The superintendent is putting the best person forward. For a board member to come out from left field with somebody else would be improper. So that's just spelling it out that you're appointing the best person for the job, and it's based on that recommendation.
No, not true. I don't want to leave out my colleague, Mrs. Ricano.
I will support and protect school personnel and proper performance of their duties.
Yeah, so there was a violation that happened where there was a block. A board member decided to go ahead and do a block. And in that block, it spoke about one of the employees. So that would be a direct violation of policy, right? So we don't talk about our employees, we support them and their duties.
You said the board member had a blog?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a blog and decided on that blog to evaluate and speak wrongly about a staff member. That was a little bit of a problem.
I would think so.
So that board member did get removed for about 6 months.
I didn't even get to know how to do a blog. Okay. I'll try not to do it. Through the years, I've come up with something, but that okay.
So letter J, I will refer all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and will act on the complaint. I will act on the complaints at public meetings only after failure of the administrative solution. So just because you don't like the administrative solution doesn't mean that that was the failure. So we're seeing a lot of issues with that where they say, okay, well, I did follow chain of command, but there was a failure administratively, so I'm going to fix that as a collective group. So just because you don't like that solution doesn't mean that that was a failure. So that's really important to be mindful of. So these are the cases that I was talking about with letter E in that. If you see with all these, it's a lot to do with letter E. And it says, nor take any private action that may compromise the board. So one of these speaks about how a member copied and pasted information from their board email and then sent it to a non-public contents to like a town council official. You can't do that. So anytime you use your board email, you have to be mindful that it basically is saying that you're speaking in an official capacity. So be really careful when you're using that email. Another one was that a board member went out and solicited vendors on he or she's own, and then said, well, I'm just going to bring this back to the board and say, look, maybe we should change from Chromebooks to iPads. You can't do that on your own. That has to be a majority of the board wanting to move in that direction. So it really spells out a lot that it's teamwork. That's that's what we're here for, to work as a team. And sometimes you disagree with your teammates, right? But that's your lane that you need to stay in, not do something on your own. But the piece about the emails, like also replying to all, that's another big issue, right? So when we reply to all, we're essentially making a meeting outside of the meeting place, outside of our public meetings. So we have to be really careful with that type of, any type of using of your board email, things like that.
It's really important that when we get emails that you don't respond to them, even though the public would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Right? Because
And
that's
so
where you get
tempted.
yourself in trouble. Even just acknowledging the email kind of puts you in trouble. If somebody's going to acknowledge it, it should probably be the president of the board as speaking for the whole board, right?
Yeah. And say you get an email by yourself and the rest of the board members don't, then you would just forward that to the board president, right? And then the board president would handle it as they see fit based on policy and chain of command. So that's really important. But you're so tempted because you're here to represent the community and you feel like, well, I'm representing the community. I'm going to just email back and say, I'm going to fix this. But you can't, because then that means that you're working as an individual and you're not following the chain of command. And the chain of command is really important. So any questions with that? And you all use your official board email, right? Like not any Gmail or whatever. Like, I've been seeing board members using like Yahoo accounts and you know, that really opens you up because anytime there's like any type of program, they can actually go into your personal email if you're utilizing that for board. So I'm not going to belabor all of this, you know, you can read this at your leisure, but it just spells out the actual violations and which part of the act. So prohibited acts, remember we spoke about the violations, but then also these. So anytime you have any conflict of interest, like where you're going to benefit or your family's going to benefit, you just stay out of the discussion, stay out of the vote. You need to recuse yourself. And there's a big difference between recusing yourself and abstention. A lot of times, board members think that, well, I can just abstain. That actually skews the vote and it's really not proper. So with conflict of interest, if you have a legal conflict of interest, recuse yourself. Stay out of the conversation, any discussion, and also stay out of the vote. Not abstaining. Abstaining is for if you don't have enough information to vote on something. If you were absent the meeting before and you just didn't have enough information, or you received your packet really late for whatever reason you couldn't open it, and you just really feel like you don't have enough information to vote, then go ahead and abstain. But recusing yourself is when there is a legal conflict. So do we all understand that aspect? A lot of times, the abstaining, people think like, well, I'm related to this person, I'm just going to abstain. You really should recuse yourself. The other piece about that too is if in executive you're having a conversation and a family member is going to be a part of that conversation, you need to stay out of that conversation completely. You need to stay out of that executive session.
I have a question on that. So if I have a family member that works in district, I normally abstain from payroll. You're saying I should recuse from payroll.
Because it's a legal conflict, yeah.
Okay.
Because think about it, when you're abstaining, it's how the vote is total. Do you want to speak to that?
If you scroll back through your other slide, at some point you say as long as they're not getting any, there it is, I think it's under H. Not a conflict is not accruing a greater gain than any others, right? Under other considerations. And my view is the payroll is pursuant to a collective bargaining agreement. They're all getting paid for sources. I'm not sure. I don't know that there's a conflict. Board members here have always taken the position that it is because it's safer for them.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that because better safe than sorry.
Yeah, definitely better safe than sorry. But I will defer to you should always defer to your board.
Through the years, every council that we've had through the years always said that you should abstain on the payroll.
Yeah.
So I mean, that seems to be the right.
The recusal is relatively new. This is a new slide in our presentation that we just put up there. They're saying that there's a differentiation between the two.
I can see if there's conversation, say, about an incident or something that involved that person, but the payroll is like, it's contractual. Honestly, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know this, but I would say we have a contract and we have to pay them no matter what, so it doesn't really matter how we vote because we have
I agree with that. I never thought of it that way. However, let me give a different example then.
Yes.
If we are hiring my family member to be the basketball coach, I'm making this up. Right? No one in my family would apply for basketball coach. So I'm just making that up. But if that was on an agenda, then I would recuse, not abstain. And that would be different because then you're hiring them for something that other people are not getting.
But it's almost my understanding that once you're on the board, your a family member can't apply for a job, that they shouldn't be considered even for a job or college.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm saying because they've already worked here.
Oh, right. I'm just saying like somebody couldn't come for any kind of job if we're on the board.
And that's not bad.
Yeah. That would be the right thing. Yeah.
So this spells out the definition of relationships and what's an immediate family member and relative. So that's in your packets. And then it even drills it down even further. And this was brought about by an advisory opinion. So interesting. And they just did this in 2023. So you have that. And then this spells out, if your relative already works here, and that's what we're talking about, Kate, right? So it spells that out. So you have that chart. But you're right, like you cannot hire any relative.
Once you're there, if they're here.
So collective bargaining, this chart really spells all that out of, what you're allowed to do. Some you can't. There'll be times where you can't participate in negotiations. There'll be times where you can't participate in negotiations, but you can vote to ratify the contract. So this spells it out really well. And then there's some additional possible conflicts there if you were endorsed by certain parties and things like that. They have
Good question.
The relative, familial relationship, cousin and sister-in-law, does that count? I'm trying to.
It says relatives.
Yeah.
Go to number 27.
It says no.
It says no. That's what I'm saying.
Like niece, nephew. It says uncle,
Well, it says brothers, sisters, spouse, or partner.
Brother, sister, spouse, partner, and it says no.
Well, we had a ruling on that one, didn't we?
No, they changed this. So
Yes, they have.
Is this new?
This is
It's all changed.
Okay, well, that changes things then. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
For the clarification.
I can't really see that.
It's like,
And I'm kind of used to doing this and it isn't working with the paper,
So these are some of the examples of the advisories and the prohibited acts. This is relatively new. This just came out in May of 2023. So if a board president has somebody working in the district, an immediate family member, it was deemed that board president then couldn't pick the committee chairs for negotiations, for finance, for instruction, for personnel, for those committees, and they couldn't sit on those committees either. So this is really new, and it's kind of made like a little bit of an uproar because it wasn't handled that way in the past. So just be mindful, this came out in May of 2020.
That's only pertaining to the board president?
The board president customarily picks the chair.
No, but I'm talking about that they couldn't be on the committee.
Yeah, she said because of that conflict. So it was interesting, it just came out. And I had sent an email to all those people saying like, oh, just be mindful of this. And then this is a piece that we talked about executive session, so that if you had somebody that, let's say, was her husband was applying for the vacancy for the board, you wouldn't be part of that conversation. This is interesting, and this is brand new. So if you're going to use the potential of quotes, advice of counsel defense for penalties, this is spelling out exactly what it has to have in it in order for you to use that defense. So you have to have the approval of advice was prior to the action taken. The individual who offered the advice or approval relied upon possessed authority or responsibility with regard to the ethical issues. Number 3, that the individual seeking advice or approval made a full disclosure of all pertinent facts and circumstances. A lot of times when we talk to our board attorney, we might tell them our side of the story, but not full disclosure of the story. So you wouldn't be able to use this defense if you didn't tell the counsel exactly every little nuance about the story. And that the individual complied with the advice received, including all restrictions it might contain. So if the board attorney said, okay, go do this, but then you kind of left out a piece, then you wouldn't be able to use that. You have to have all 4 factors in order to use this defense for a violation of the code. Any questions on that? I thought it was really interesting. I got really excited by this law. Volunteering in school. So when you sign up to be a board ed member, it doesn't take away your ability to volunteer. However, it's the degree of volunteering, right? So we can't go into a school and be construed as giving a directive. So if you're going to be in something, let's say the theater group, and you're going to tell the theater teacher, what to do, and maybe talk about the set design or what have you, then you would need to stay out of that type of volunteerism. So anytime that you're going to give any type of directive that you think that you'll give direction to a staff member, then that volunteerism has to kind of go by the wayside. Anything to do with handling money, things like that, you really need to kind of curtail that type of situation. But if you're just going on a class trip or what have you, have at it, you can do that, that type of volunteerism. But it's the degree of authority of the position that you're taking when you go in. The other thing is a lot of times board members think that they can just go into the schools because they belong there. It's really not proper. You should be in there for a specific reason, and you should also go over with the superintendent what your degree of performance is with whatever volunteerism you're doing. So I would just check with your superintendent before you go into the schools and say, I'm going to be volunteering doing this, and just make sure that your superintendent knows exactly what you're doing. And this is about the structure of those who talked about this before, if there was any kind of conflict. And then our favorite conversation is social media. So social media has really been a hot button. And when you become a school official, you do not give it your right away to the First Amendment. However, there's a lot that goes into that. So, you're in this campaigning mode, right? So you're on Facebook, you have a Facebook page that says, so-and-so for Board of Ed. And you're constantly feeding that page with all types of information. Well, when you're not a board member, you could go ahead and do that. But then once you become a board member and you're sworn in, you need to take that page and never post from that page. You have to either get rid of it, terminate it, or put it on sleep mode or what have you, so that you never post from there. Because think about when you post from that type of page, you're giving the public the impression that you're speaking an official capacity. And you can't do that would be a direct violation. So you have to make sure that you, when you do post, that you post a disclaimer. This is the disclaimer that they recommend you posting. Do you have to use that disclaimer? No, but this is what they recommend. It should be in bold. And does this disclaimer get you out of jail free? No, it doesn't. Just because you have this disclaimer doesn't mean that you can just write whatever you want on Facebook. Number one, you have to go from your personal page, and number two, you have to make sure that any of the content that you post would be construed as being a private citizen, not as a board member, not in your official capacity. So this is a little bit of question and answer what I talked about before. Does you have that disclaimer? Does that absolve you from any kind of violation of the act? And the answer would be no. And then even responding to if you're going to put a link on, sometimes if you have a certain type of link that you post, it can just make a normal member of the public feel that you're kind of pushing them one way or the other. You're just best off not posting on Facebook. I don't know where you would ever have a need to do that. I always told my board members as presidents, as a president, if you're going to post on Facebook, can you just do puppies and rainbows? Can we just not do any kind of craziness on Facebook? Because it's really not fair to the public. So if you are going to post anything on Facebook, your safest bet is to kind of just put them to the district's webpage. The district webpage is going to have all the accurate information and all the accurate content, so you won't get yourself in trouble. So like I said, take that campaign page, put it aside, put it on sleep until next time, because you're going to have so much fun in the next 3 years that you're going to want to run again. Then you can take that page, you can bring it back up, but just remember, you're still a board member when you're running at that time, so you have to be careful there. And then the liking a page, yes, you can like a page, but just remember that when you like a comment or what have you, if it's controversial, it can be construed as content, so just be careful what you do there. And then your language. Any language that you wouldn't use in this room, don't use on Facebook. Peter, do you have any language skills? So points to consider. If you do have conflict, maybe you might want to make a little checklist so that you all stay on track with board members and know the conflicts there. Always consult your board attorney with any ethical issues and identify conflicted members. And check those school board notes, because we do have an update on the advisory committee, and then also any type of rendering from the commission. And that's it. Any questions? No? Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you very much. I'm okay with the packet. I got a packet and a half.
Oh, you did? You got a bonus?
Yeah, so this is the bonus section, but this section is all.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have any minutes to the agenda?
What's that question?
Asking Dr. Fenari if we have any amendments to the agenda. Okay. No, I'll do those. Okay, so not this section. So, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please?
make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Education, Mrs. Dwyer.
Okay, I move to approve the following agenda item. Whereas in accordance with the requirements set forth in PL 2010, Chapter 122, the West Milford Board of Education has received results of the HIB investigative reports on January 23rd, 2024. Therefore, be it resolved that the West Milford Board of Education approves issuance of written decisions affirming, rejecting, or modifying the superintendent's determination of the following HIB investigations. Incident Report 2024 E3 as unsubstantiated. Incident Report number 2024 E4 substantiated.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Am I the only one that doesn't remember which ones these are?
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I am uncomfortable voting on this tonight because I know that I don't remember which ones they are. As board members, we don't take home any paperwork, we don't know any numbers or anything outside of being in our meeting of what that HIB is. So it's not something I can review over the weekend, it's not something that we would know. I'm sorry, but I can't vote on this tonight because I don't know which ones they are. And am I the only one?
So these are the ones from our last meeting that I discussed with the board executive session.
I'd like to ask them, okay, I'm gonna make a motion to table these until after the first executive session.
Second.
I'm sorry, I can't remember, I don't know which in the grade.
I agree.
We can discuss it in executive session. So, is that okay, all those in favor of tabling until after executive session?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Personnel, Mrs. Van Dyke.
I'd like to move items 1 through 11.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. Okay, on number 8, the activity took place on January 18th. It's over. How could we vote on something that's already occurred? Why weren't we told about this at the last meeting? I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing, but I think the board should have been informed about this ahead of time, so we could have voted before the fact than after the fact.
Was it regularly scheduled, like was this a yearly thing that was scheduled?
Yeah, so it's not the event, it's paying the teachers, or paying the staff. It's on the agenda.
When we approve the event, we don't approve the staff at the same time?
Those are changes.
Yeah. Was it a different person?
No, she's always done it, from what I
I
remember.
don't believe you approved that particular event as an event.
I agree in that we should know of these things prior, and I think it goes along with a bigger discussion that we've had about a calendar. So,
I think that's the point of the discussion.
and that is, I mean, these things come up, and they've already happened, or the next one, number 9, is happening tomorrow night, and, you know, as a parent, these are things too that I want to see on the district calendar on the website, not the week prior, but, you know, at least a month prior. Yeah, so,
Okay, when you said a week prior,
I'm saying not a week prior. I don't think that's fair to families and parents and us as a board, you know, so it's about planning and meeting the calendar.
so parents were not notified about this until last week? Until the week before it happened?
No,
So,
Thursday before the time.
we were told a week before.
It was discussed around table this past Thursday.
You said that again.
It was discussed at roundtable, was one of the items on the agenda that they raised because they wanted to know how come they only had like 6 days to know about this. That's why I'm asking, like, I think it's something that is part of our yearly thing, and maybe we need to find a way to put forth, like, you know how we put our, you know, I'm not being sarcastic now, but do you know how we put all of our sports stuff on ahead of time and who the people are? Maybe that's what we need to do with guidance and different things, so that we give them the same courtesy that we give others.
I have a question. Aren't most of these events, the dates picked during the summer, like before the school year even starts? Like a lot of this, like your FAFSA nights, your freshman hair night, all of those things, aren't those dates usually done during the summer so we have them well in advance?
Yeah, the majority of the events are, I think sometimes they're done in the spring before, looking ahead.
Okay. So it wouldn't be, you know, so it's feasible to think that we could probably have all that ahead of time, right?
District calendar. There we go.
We used to have them, it was called
Anything
Yeah.
else?
We have a district calendar. We have a district calendar. This was on the district calendar. Can I make that on grand assumption? No? We'll get a bunch of heads to take it.
No, it wasn't on.
Okay. This is middle school or high school?
It's 8th grade going into the high school.
I believe it was put on the week before on the calendar when they announced it. When they sent out the notification to the parents.
So once upon a time in like May, building permits would be put in and all the dates would be picked. And then all that would go into what was at the time called the YAG, which was one general calendar, so that everything fed into the website calendar. So you would see all those events for the entire year. And then I don't know why.
Yeah,
You're at it.
so.
Yeah.
I like that better than the acronym.
Sorry, you're at
That's what it's called. Come on.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcano?
Yes.
Mr. Lippy?
Yes.
Mr. Seidowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Laughlin?
Yes. Operations and Finance, Mr. Lippy.
I'd like to move forward operation to finance number 1 through 3.
Second.
Any discussion?
Okay, once again,
Yeah.
we are approving something from July 1st, 2023 to the end of the school year, retroactive. Why is this retroactive? Why wasn't it put on our July or August agenda? It's what?
Transportation.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, but we've been transporting them since July. Did the dates change? Like, it's very odd. What bothers me is the retroactive part of it. You know, it should have been, I mean, if we knew we had to transport these children in July, we shouldn't be looking at it now. We should have been looking at it last May or June.
It all depends on when the actual agreement reaches us. So I'm not sure what the date that we received that agreement was, but it was not.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, no, I received this agreement. It's definitely after last board meeting when I received it.
Okay. That makes me feel
Some
better.
commissions are legal contracts, some bit under the transportation contracts. Usually ESC sometimes, unfortunately.
Shame on him.
Was this, we talked about this in the Township Finance Committee, didn't we?
No, we don't talk about this. No, we don't talk about this.
That's shaking my head for me.
And then that's easier to kind of stand out that way.
This is funny.
Sorry.
Any other discussion?
Just a comment. I agree with what Peter said about Ops and Finance meeting. Maybe we can think about what we do in the other committee meetings and look at agenda items, because Ops and Finance, we just don't keep, we don't look at agenda items. And I know there's a lot that get added later, and as a board member, I would understand that. But if there are some, maybe that's something we can add.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't include it in my agenda, because I'm gonna add it as last Tuesday to the agenda. But yeah, it's on the agenda here.
Yeah. It's just not something in Ops and Finance that we normally do. We don't look at agenda items. And I would.
That's fine, I can do that.
I think it's a good idea, and then we know what you have, and then these questions and this stuff wouldn't, I think it would be helpful.
Get it hammered out at that point. Yeah, exactly.
You agree?
Yeah, so I tried to do it with my administrative assistant. We go through the agenda and I basically list all the items on the agenda. But this time we didn't have that time, so yeah, since then.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Anyone else? Roll call?
Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jurgensen?
Yes.
Mrs. McConnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Seidowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Bachman?
Yes. Okay, now on to the workshop discussion. Mrs. Wyatt, education.
Okay, the following items are presented for anticipated action at the budget regular meeting of January 30th, 2024. So we have a discussion on items 1 through 3. I have a question.
Okay, Mrs. Wyatt.
Okay, on number 1, I know that one of the chaperones is vetted, but what about the other 2? Are they volunteers? Are they teachers of the district? Have they had their criminal checks? On number 1, the names of the chaperones. The second and third chaperone, have they been vetted? Do they have their criminal check? Are they district employees?
That's the process now to appear on the agenda.
It's in the process now.
No, not in the process. In order to now appear, because we've been talking about this for 2 years, in order to appear on the agenda now, they needed to have gone through the process.
Okay.
So yes.
We're no longer leaving the chaperone plan. We're moving people, we're putting people on the agenda so that this way we know there's a balance of both male and female and who they are. Not that I think that's what you're talking about.
I just want to make sure they have their criminal checks.
Can you just confirm that for next week? Okay, any more discussion? Education? Okay, personnel, Mrs. Van Dyke? Do you have anything?
Yes.
Dr. Canary is just going to speak first.
Okay, so board members, there are a couple of things on personnel motions that are going to be discussed. So on page 9, item number 9, the date that's listed there, when it says on Thursday, February 8th, 2024, that date is going to be adjusted to February 15th, 2024. Let's see. We then move to page 12, motion number 16. There are 2 adjustments. Because I usually I'll use staff initials, so the first staff member's name on that list, Jody Communion. Oh, sorry, JC. See, I did. It doesn't matter, it's written. I apologize, I'm trying to be so careful. The number of hours there is going to be changed from 5 to 4, and the amount is adjusted to 148. A few names down, we see JK, and the reverse is going to be adjusted, so the hours go from 4 to 5, and the payment changes to 185. And the last change that I have is page 14. Item number 24 is at the bottom of page 14 and moves all the way through the top of page 15. We are going to take that motion off of the January 30th agenda and add it to the February 20th agenda. This is in order for our athletics department to get us numbers of students who are participating in each of those sports. You know, it's been a question that, and I checked with our athletic director today, and it will not cause any issues with the sports beginning, their activities beginning. So we're going to just move that motion to February.
Just to follow, I did speak with Mr. Trinidad about it. The intention of this was that it was a month early for you. So I guess in the future, I don't know how it would look at the committee in the future. Would it be a different handout so it doesn't appear as if it's on the agenda soon? So the intention was for you to have it a month early, like we discussed.
The only problem is that
Doesn't need to be until February.
we can have the names of coaches and sports well in advance, but for example, with these sports, the student signups aren't even due until February 1st. So it makes it difficult for us to get you numbers well in a whole month in advance, but we're going to try and do that.
Okay, so it looks like there's items 1 through 25 spread before you, and 24 being tabled till next month.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, Mrs. Sherman?
So if I understand it, the high school sports is not going to be on the agenda for next week. So we will have a committee meeting prior to voting on this. Good, okay. Thank you.
Anyone
Can
else?
I ask that they have another sign-up is going to be just right before that committee meeting? If we could just get a head count, just get an idea of what, where everybody's going.
Yeah, that's and I will most likely get you that number before the committee meeting, so the board has a sense of what our generally 90% of the figures are. By then you don't have that at least.
And if possible, I'd like to do the same thing with a lot of the bigger clubs that we have as well, just to see if we're spending money in the right areas, if there's students involved in it, things like that.
Anything else? Okay, operations and finance, Mr. Leslie.
You could have been an office up here. Good, operations. Operations and finance, I'd like to move to January 30th, numbers 1 through 6.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, so we'll move on to old business. Anyone have anything for old business?
Move to close all business.
Second, so
All those in favor?
Hey, I'll stop bringing it in.
Huh?
I'm gonna bring it in.
Okay. Any opposed? New business. Anyone have anything in new business? All right, I think Mrs. Sylvia was first.
Sorry.
Okay, now I'll come to you.
I just wanted to say that I've recently reviewed a lot of board meetings, and there's a different sound in this room when you watch them. I don't know if anyone else has gone back and watched them, but if you do not speak into this microphone, no one at home can hear you. When you vote, they don't know what you're voting, and when you rewatch it, you cannot hear anything that you are saying from this table when you rewatch the video. Unless you're doing as I'm doing. If your microphone's up here and you vote yes, they cannot hear me right now. So I just wanted you guys to know that I recently just watched some of our past videos, many from this room, and if you are not speaking into this microphone, that video is not. You can go back and watch them and see. They can't hear anything that you're saying. So I wanted to let you guys know that.
is that like that?
Camera, microphone,
Not as
all it
much.
takes so much.
Well, the ceiling is.
In Westbrook, it was very different. And when we spoke, even when we were away from our mouths, everyone could hear that microphone picked up. It's not happening in this room for those evenings.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
I'm sorry, well, it's a very different sound system in this room than it was at Westbrook, and that microphone is not picking us up unless we're speaking into this microphone. So, have fun doing past meetings if you'd like to second what I'm saying, but I just want you guys to know that they're not hearing us at home if you're not actually speaking.
Okay, so make sure you speak it into your microphones.
Ready?
Ready to go. That's right. Mr. Simons.
This is an excellent segue. To a gentleman that reminds us to speak into the microphone, I'd like to wish a preemptive happy birthday to me behind the camera. On the way out, you make sure that you let me know.
You sure that's new business? We're all getting old.
It's new
Just kidding me.
I don't need the reminder.
I just have a question, I guess this is for Billy. Do we have a custodian at Westbrook at night?
We have one until I think 6 o'clock. They leave at 6 and they go back to high school and finish their shift over there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for business? Okay, seeing none.
We have the large resolution.
We did it.
Oh, you did it already? Oh, good, I missed that.
Seeing as none, I'd like to close new business.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we're going on to our second public comment. So all speakers will have 5 minutes to speak until the period of 30 minutes transpires. Before speaking, please state your name, group affiliation, and address for the record. Members of the public who have requested to speak prior to the meeting will be recognized by the chair first. After speaking, all speakers are asked to sign the register provided and give their full name, group affiliation, and their address. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. All speakers are expected to have read the statement within the agenda regarding the regulations concerning public comments. Members of the public are reminded that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. Anyone wishing to speak?
Let's make sure that.
Yeah, you're red. Go red.
Go red at the bottom.
You were red.
Catherine Weiss Connors, 37 Highland Drive, West Milford. I was curious too if there was a decision made about separating the special education from the education committee, and if not, will we be given more information about that at the next board meeting?
Thank you, Mrs. Weiss Connors. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none.
I move to close public comments.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, executive session, Mrs. Ricano.
At 8:28 p.m., I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing current litigation matters, HIBs, and matters of attorney-client privilege. The executive session minutes will not be released until such time as the privilege or confidentiality is no longer applicable. The board will be in executive session for approximately 45 minutes. Action will be taken.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We will be returning. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Roll call, please. Mr. Schultz?
Mrs. Hancock?
Here.
Mrs. Romeo?
Here.
Mrs. Jorgensen?
Here.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Here.
Mr. Lippy?
Here.
Mr. Seidowitz?
Here.
Mr. O'Connor?
Here.
Mrs. Marquardt,
Here.
and Mrs. Lockwood.
Here. So we need a motion to bring back,
I move to remove.
education, motion number 1.
Terry? All right, coming. Okay, I move to accept the recommendation of the interim superintendent for the following resolution. Whereas in accordance with the requirements set forth in PL 2010, Chapter 22, the West Milford Board of Education has received results of the HIP investigative reports on January 23rd, 2024. Therefore, be it resolved that the West Milford Board of Education approved issuance of written decision affirming, rejecting, and modifying the superintendent's determination of the following HIP investigations. Incident Report 2024 E3 as unsubstantiated and 2024 E4 as substantiated.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please, Mr. Schultz.
Mrs. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Slade,
Yes.
Mrs. Jurgensen,
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo,
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Libby,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Lockwood.
Yes. Okay. Anybody like to read it? You wouldn't say that? Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't raise your hand.
Under personnel, item 12, be it resolved that the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the interim superintendent, terminate employee 4773 effective January 24th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please, Mr. Schultz.
Mr. Slade,
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mrs. Jurgensen,
Yes.
Mr. Libby,
Yes.
Mrs. Lockwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke.
Yes.
Mrs. Ricano, I have a motion to go into executive session.
I move at 9:21 to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's search. We will not take action after executive session is through, and we will dismiss from there.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.